Well, I'm super excited about tonight. My wife and I, Suzanne and I, have been just feeling like for some time now that we needed to take a moment in our church at some opportunity to talk about marriages. And so we're going to do that tonight. And I mentioned that this weekend just because I wanted you guys to know that we're going to be talking about marriage. And if you're single, I want to just put you at ease right now. Like you might be here and like, oh, dang it, I came on the wrong night, you know? And I want you to know that sometimes the church, we've kind of gotten it wrong sometimes because we've put so much emphasis on marriage at the expense of singleness. And if actually theologically, if you wanted to kind of arguably, you could say that there's more theological basis for being single than for being married, by the way. And that's interesting. Anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. But just that for those of you that are single, my prayer and my wife's prayer and I have been that there would be something of relationship of that would be poured into you tonight too, of healthy relationship regardless of what season you might be in. And for those of you that are married, maybe you're here without a spouse, or maybe your spouse is here as well. This is going to be an encouraging night. It's not going to be one of those downers, you know, where you walk out feeling depressed about your marriage and discouraged. This is going to be one of those nights where you are lifted up and encouraged by it, and you're going to laugh a little bit. There might be a tear or two, but because we're honest about our journeys and our stories. But I'm really excited about that. And so we have Emma and Jeremy's out, I think, tuning his guitar. And Emma and Jeremy Johnson are thanks, Suzanne, are a young couple in our church, and I'm going to interview them. And you might know Jeremy if you've been around for a while. He is Ken and Linda Johnson, the former lead pastor's son, and a really good friend of mine. I actually had known Jeremy since I was 10. I don't know how old Jeremy was, 1 maybe. And our families go way back. And when Jeremy and Emma moved back from Indiana here a few years ago, there was Jeremy and I just connected because we're both PKs. We're both pretty real and raw and honest about our brokenness. And at some point, he and I talked about, he mentioned it, what about, would it be possible to share our story at some point? And as we were talking about this night, Suzanne and I, we were like, what about Emma and Jeremy sharing their story? And so that's what we're going to do for this first part of tonight. And so Jeremy, Emma, welcome. Can you guys welcome them? Yeah, wonderful. And Jeremy's going to sing a song in a minute. He's not going to do a melody while we're talking. You're sure welcome to, Jeremy, actually, a little background music. But let's just kind of start with some easy ones. And you're going to pull out my notes here. How did you guys meet, Emma? You and Jeremy, how did you end up meeting?
Is this on? Okay.
Yeah.
We met in Seattle. I left Indiana and went to Seattle Pacific University, and that was Jeremy's first year there. And we met, and by the end of our freshman year, we were dating.
Wow.
Just typical SPU Christian college story.
Yeah, my wife. It was not planned, but yeah, my wife and I got married at Bible college. Yeah. It was her plan. But how long have you been married now?
I think in June it'll be 17 years. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
so we were
17 years.
21 when we got married.
Wow,
yeah.
that's
So
great.
we were still in college.
Yeah, and how many kids do you have?
We have 4, which is
Okay.
A
That's a
debatable
lot.
number because that changes sometimes. We have 3, and we currently have 4.
Why is that? Why does it change every once
We
in a while?
have an extended part of our family. She's my daughter's best friend, who's just sitting back there. And she's living with us here in Oregon.
That's great.
And we hope that she'll be back in the fall next year to continue.
Great. Yeah, you guys have always had a pretty open door to kids, to families. I love that about you guys. Let's get right into it. When did you notice, now your marriage isn't struggling now in terms of like everybody struggles in some way, but when did you start to notice your marriage was beginning to struggle, back in those years when it was?
Pretty much right away.
Yeah. I joke around that I didn't know Suzanne and I were struggling until year 6. She knew we were struggling from year 1 to year 6.
Yeah.
And so,
I would say about year 2, it kind of, and I think that's about the time that we had our first child. So, your needs become higher, and those things that you could kind of, throw under the rug, you just can't as much anymore. We lived in Alaska during our first 4 years of marriage, and that was when we kind of call that time a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Our years up there, it's kind of like we just did everything wrong, honestly. Like we did a family business, we had kids when we probably weren't really ready for that, and a lot of expectations heaped on each other. And we also just, it took about 2 years of doing that before we were beginning to be miserable. And by year 5, we were very miserable.
Was that kind of the worst point in your guys' relationship, was around year 5, or did it get worse?
Like year 1 through year 5?
Yeah, right.
Well,
I think
there's many points of
man, I
misery.
can't say what that was. It was kind of brutal from year 2 through year 5.
Yeah. What did you attribute most of the struggle to?
I'll speak for myself personally. Baggage brought in that wasn't dealt with. That had this thought that when you start a new life and get married, that all just goes away, and
You empty the suitcase before you come to the marriage,
exactly,
and you realize that that's not true.
Yeah, and I'll say too that we kind of did this like, well, now we're married and now we're Christians and now we're going to church and we're just kind of like doing what everybody else did. But it wasn't really working. It wasn't really like real on the inside. And me being a Christian woman, like I think a lot of us are, you just kind of make it up if it's not really happening. So I remember those years, like it was almost like I would come home and I had this like nice and tidy file for myself and all the boxes that I was checking off. Like, you know, making sure that all of my Christian and wife boxes were checked off in case like Jesus walked in the room and wanted to check our files. Mine was going to be clean and his was going to be very messy. And but literally that's like what I would do, you know? And Jeremy and I were talking last night, and I was just remembering my mindset at that time. I really felt like if you do these things, then God will bless you. And I just kept feeling like I'm just going to keep doing these things, even though they're not working, even though our marriage is empty, even though I just kept doing them. And I thought at that time that God would bless that, but truly what he allowed to happen was kind of our crap hit the fan, so to speak.
Yeah.
And things.
If you were my dad, you would have said the real word.
I would have. I should have done it for Ken.
And then I would get emails about it later.
So that happened even though I was trying really hard
Yeah.
to keep a really nice and tidy file. And after that happened, I remember feeling like I'm playing a game with my husband and God that they're not playing with me. Like this is a one-sided game and it's not working. And I just kind of didn't do that anymore. And I really was like, okay, I need to figure out a different way because this whole like act like you're a Christian wife thing is miserable.
And act like everything's okay,
Yeah.
and kind of put on the mask and pretend, just
Exactly.
ultimately caught up with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Jeremy, in this season? I mean, were you checked out?
Yeah, I wanted to, without revealing too much yet. I wanted it to work, of course. I think I checked out, maybe little past year 2, or year 2 actually. It was like I'd made it being, and you weren't this way, but a lot of PKs are, when I say average PK, rebellious, and you want to give the world the middle finger for lack of a better term. But and so I think it was like I really wanted to make a new beginning. I really intended on doing things right this time. And when things didn't go the way I'd anticipated, it just kind of started setting me back in the same old mindset in the same ways and habits and addiction.
What kind of helped start moving the train, turning the train around? I mean, what was?
Just pretty much full-blown crisis. We, without going into much detail, had a pretty big marital fallout where I'll just say that it was one of those things that we could have legitimized divorce. Yeah. People wouldn't have been like, oh, why? They would have been like, oh, we get it. Yeah. And it took that to actually cause us to kind of be like, well, are we going to just make a split, or are we going to perhaps try to fix this? And so it was our first step towards counseling at that point.
Yeah. And not to sugarcoat it, really, I think the first spark was lack of the intimate life didn't meet expectations, and it was directly related. I know that newly married couples go through that awkward stage, but it was directly related to some of the baggage that we brought in that we didn't give any credence to.
And so you went through counseling, it sounds like.
So we actually moved from Alaska at that time. We kind of did like a crash course in counseling, and then we knew we had really fallen apart and that we needed to continue to prioritize that. We ended up coming back to Bend for 6 months, then moving to Indiana. And we got involved in a church there that was just a really, really, really transparent church. And it absolutely changed everything for us. He would talk about his marriage, and we were feeling it 100%. So we got involved in Celebrate Recovery. We did a number of things because we were just so broken. We knew we were really broken, but we really didn't know how to fix ourselves, and we just kind of kept throwing ourselves into things to try to find wherever the bottom was. We needed to find how to get there and start the healing process. So that was a lot of what we did in Indiana was just counseling. Like, we would just go to work and try to not kill each other and go to counseling for a while.
Yeah, I think to her point that the theology of the church we went to was healthy. It was good. It was a church that really was adamant about being transparent and with your struggles. And honestly, to this day, I think that's one of the biggest forms of ministry we can do, because for me personally, that I felt like I was like, I am not like any of them. I'm never going to make the right choices, and so I'm not even going to try. But the fact is, people were struggling, and I didn't know it, and so it just that specifically for me opened that door to realize that I'm not as messed up as I thought, even though I messed up.
But you're not alone in it. But you're not alone in your messed up, right? You realize,
exactly.
there are other people
that was a huge aspect
that are walking this same journey, and they're not giving up, and they're trying to figure it out, and they're trying to make it work, and they're because it was a lot of work. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh
it would have been way easier to just.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, because it was like, even realizing that you're broken doesn't necessarily fix the problem. So what we did for so long was, it was just like we were two very broken people operating out of our brokenness, trying to love each other, but it was like we were just so trying to fill each other's voids, being broken people, and you can't. You actually can't. And so that's kind of why we felt like we're trying so hard to fix this. And it's like, every time you try to fix something and you feel like you make progress, and then you just fall off a cliff again. Every time you fall off the cliff, you fall a little longer and harder than the time before, and you're not sure if you're going to get up and try again. And it was just a pattern like that for probably like 3-4 years.
Yeah. And we had talked before, Emma, about you were trying to fill. There was a lot of expectation on Jeremy, and maybe it went both ways. To talk a little bit more about that feeling of, you're trying to get something out of Jeremy, or you out of Emma, that maybe isn't intended, or maybe we should go to God first. We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Speak to that a little more.
Well, I'd gotten to a point where I felt like, I had also processed a lot of my own personal baggage, and come to Jeremy with some of my own pains that I felt like I was at a place that I needed to process, and he just dealt with it so poorly. It was like, I was like, are you kidding me? Just hug me. Like, it was just, everything we tried we did so wrong.
Did you want to say something right there?
She's absolutely right. I'm not going to refute that. I was also so broken that you can't get love from an empty well, especially for me. Without giving all the background, I grew up with a dad who was very, very type A, successful, great. I mean, I've never heard my dad speak an ill word of anyone, so not here to slander him. I mean, he was a godly example in so many ways, but our personalities clashed. I was type B, and I just felt like I was never meeting expectations, and I think that kind of set in tone how I viewed God, and I didn't want anything to do with that. I was like, if I have to perform to meet your expectations, I've already been through that, and I
so
don't
you
want to do
took
that.
and applied it to Emma as well, in terms of like, if you have these expectations, that's
and I think where I was going with that is that what I didn't understand, even though I heard it in church growing up, hearing it and really having the revelation was that I was loved and accepted, and I didn't understand grace, and so if you don't understand that, then how can you give that? And
that's really good.
So he couldn't give it.
Tell me more about that.
And that's
so you wanted to say a little bit more about that, I think, Emma.
That's where I felt like that part for me, it felt like if he can't give that to me, then this can't work, is what it felt like, And so the story that I really do want to share, it kind of starts with me being in that place of feeling like, I just need you to love me. Honestly, the expectation I put on him was, I just need you to love me perfectly. Like, the Bible says you're supposed to. Not sure if I got that verse right, but that's what I thought.
She obviously didn't go to high school.
So as I was dealing with my baggage and my pain and my trauma, I was like, well, all I need you to do now is just do everything right, okay? And I would constantly kind of go back to him for my own healing. And so, interestingly, what God did with me was, honestly, he gave me what I was looking for. And I'll just share this story as briefly as I can, because it's pretty cool. I had kept signing us up for things to try to help us. Like anything that crossed my path, I was like, we're doing it.
Jeremy, I bet you just love that.
And I just kept been like, get in the car, just get in the
Well,
car.
I already had to go to church 3 times a week growing up, so I was used to being forced to do things. No, my heart was in it. It was like a last-ditch effort for both of us. It wasn't that I didn't. Yeah.
So we had ended up at this, it's called a New Life Weekend. Like it's Steve Otterburn does these things, okay? We had actually gotten like scholarships to go. And I'm like, we got a scholarship, we're going. So we drove to Maryland and we did this thing. It was like a weekend for really messed up people. Like when you have real things to deal with, you have to, talk through them. And that's really where I wanted to do, is I wanted to work on some of the things that I had realized. I asked him to go as a support to me. And so he did, and every lunch break, every snack break, every drive break, we were arguing or crying or trying to separate. It was that degree of So at the end of it, we would talk about our groups, and I would say, I'm really finding some healing, and he would be like, mine's so-so. And then...
So it's going well so far. Yeah, going well so
it.
far.
And so at the end... they did this testimonial where if you have something to share, you have something that was really life-changing for you, come up and share. There was kind of these long line of men apologizing to their wives, mostly. And so they were wrapping that up, and I see Jeremy just kind of beeline from the back to the front, kind of almost like had to take the mic out of Steve Otterburn's hand, and just made this huge, heartfelt, crying apology to me for all the things that he didn't do, all the times he wasn't there, and all the, everything. Which
was a true miracle for me.
It was like, honestly, it was that moment that you feel like on your wedding day, it was 10 times that. I was totally shocked. And it was so healing for us. It was like I got what I thought I needed, and I did need that to a certain degree, because I was kind of hanging in there for a long time, and so God gave me what I needed. So interestingly, we really, really came home from that, obviously, in a completely different place. And it was like 3 days later that I realized, I'm like, the apology is kind of wearing off. And by the time I got to day 7, I was like, I wonder if I could just contact them. They could send me like a video, and I could just watch it every morning. And then I was like, maybe something's wrong with me. And that's really what it took for me to realize that my list of expectations is never ending. It will never stop. And truly, after I had that realization, God just made it so clear to me. It was like, you are barking up the wrong tree. You're trying to find my love, and you will never find it there. And it was just such a huge day for me. Like, I felt different the rest of the day. I kept feeling like I had won a bunch of money. I mean, I can't describe it. It was awesome. So different. And had I not kind of beat my head against a brick wall for so long, him being the brick wall, trying to siphon the love of God out of something that wasn't going to give that to me, I don't know if I would have gotten to that place, but that's for me what I really wanted to share, is that I spent, even though I could have justifiably been like, we're divorcing, or it's him, not me. That's not the truth that God wanted me to know.
So good. So good, Emma. And out of this came a song that we're going to have you sing. And tell us a little bit about that before you sing it.
Yeah, so this was this song I started kind of in the midst of this, what we call what period of time? The recovery period, which didn't mean we were recovered by any means, but we got to the point where we kicked the hornet's nest of the childhood trauma and all the bags that I talked about that we brought in. I have a personality where I just stuff stuff away, and there's pretty much everyone in my life didn't know about some of the stuff that was eating me up. But I just pull yourself up at the bootstraps. That's your raise, and just move on. But pretending like that didn't happen only works for so long before it starts manifesting in some pretty dark ways. And so
You were writing this.
No, I know. I'm getting there. Thank you. I know I'm ADD, but I'll get there. So during that time, we're like going through counseling and, like I said, kicking the hornet's nest, so to speak, which is really painful. Even more painful than hiding it away,
Yeah.
But it is absolutely necessary. And again, to backtrack, and I will get to the point, it's all tied in. That step of just telling somebody about some of my struggles was the first step toward freedom.
Yeah.
Because you are as sick as your secrets. I know it's a cheesy term, but it's true. I found that to be very true.
That's right.
And not only the healing power for yourself, and you find the healing power that you're providing for others, and that's really what fellowship should be, in my opinion. But anyway, so through that time period, we're still, definitely not recovered, but I'm starting to realize some things. And unlike her, I knew I was messed up since I was a kid. I mean, it was a PK, and I didn't make good choices since first grade. So my problem was the opposite, where I didn't think, I just messed up. I didn't have very high standards for myself. And so I'm writing this song, and we're in a spot where we really don't know what the future's going to hold, but we're trying as hard as we can to make it through it. And she's really anxious to hear how the song ends, and because I'm singing in the living room, and I found out later, she's like waiting to hear how it's going to end. And
well, he would just start these songs like in the middle of our like quiet dysfunction, and he would like write lyrics about it.
Yeah.
I don't have any good songs
And they're
anymore.
really good lyrics, and I was always like, gosh, I wonder what the end is going to be. Is like the end going to be like, is it okay, or are we? Gonna...
Yeah, and so I got to the bridge of the song where it kind of crescendos, and I don't even know how this happened, but we started writing. She's writing lines to help me finish it and writing it back and forth, and so we kind of wrote the bridge together, and it's kind of where the song gets a little more hopeful.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
in the moment we were very unhopeful, and as we like kind of slid this paper back and forth, this is the only song I've ever helped him write. It was like we were kind of proving to each other that we were still in the game.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention Jeremy's a professional musician. Pursued that career for quite a number of years and was successful in it. And so, well, let's hear the song, Jeremy. Is that all right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Can we thank them again just for sharing and being
Thank
up
you.
here? Yeah. You can just leave them there. Yeah. Good.
That's probably family. Well, thank you, Steve and Suzanne, and you guys for having us and listening. I never want to do this, to be quite honest. It's uncomfortable for me. I'm not an out there guy, but I just feel it's absolutely necessary for the reasons that I stated, but also it just keeps you released from that. And the moment that you start stuffing it again, you feel that kind of darkness coming back. So anyway. Just so you know, I wasn't really super excited about doing it because I'm not good on stage, but I can sing, I guess. So this is called Love's Like Holding Guns, because it is. The light's not turning on this pack. I hope I didn't kill it. It might be dead. Should I just go unplug? Evan saves the day. What a guy. Thank you, Evan. Anyway, but we got through it again. And the church saved me with a guitar. So thank you guys. What part of give a little don't you get? It's not a riddle. Hearts get hard when they're scarred in the middle. Cause I give and I bend, make emotional investments. Haven't seen a dividend. What have we become? I think we've been one thing. Been one thing. Moves like holding guns will only bleed again. Late nights, fierce fights, ravage us like termites, eating through foundations of relations that were tight. Human nature is a beast, no laws, no leash, leaving nothing but the rubble at our feet. What have we become? I think we've been one thing. We've been one thing. Looks like holding guns will only bleed again. I fed your sickness, you fed mine, but we were young and we were blind to what this thing called love would do. You damaged me, I damaged you. And now that we have reached the end, there's nothing left to save, my friend. It's darkest right before the dawn. It's cold, but I'm still holding on, 'cause I'm convinced this love is real. It's in my bones like melted steel. I feel it when we disconnect. I feel it when we resurrect. It shoves us down, it pulls us back. Relentless, unswayed maniacs. This may be insanity, but real love never leaves. What have we become? I think we've been one thing. We've been one thing. Words like holding guns. We'll make it through again. Thank you. A little out of practice, but thank you guys.
I just wanted to mention, if you'd like to hear more about, I wasn't planning on doing this, Jeremy, he had a band called Bleeding Keys, Bleeding Keys, and several albums. One that this song is on is called Ghost Again, so Bleeding Keys. Anyway, thank you, Jeremy and Emma, again, for sharing your story. Can we tell them one more time? Thank you. So good, so good. Well, the next part of our night tonight, we're going to get to hear from our marriage ministry leaders. We have a class called Building Together, Better Together. Building Together. That's a good name too. But Better Together. It's our marriage ministry led by Greg and Shawnee Hammer. And Greg and Shawnee have been part of our church for a couple of years. They were pastors in Hawaii at a Foursquare church there. And when Suzanne and I were thinking about who should talk about marriage for a few minutes with us, we immediately thought of Greg and Shawnee. So can you guys welcome Greg and Shawnee as they come up and share with us? Thanks, Shawnee.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
You want to take mine?
No. Now I'm on. It says on right there. It's really easy.
I know, it's written in English. Oh, mine is the SAP button.
Oh.
Sorry. Good evening. Look at all your beautiful faces. My gosh, it's such an honor to be here. We want to thank Steve and Suzanne for having us tonight. So awesome.
Yeah, God has really used our testimony a few times, and we have been so incredibly blessed every single time He has. It's just an honor for us to be up here and to share with you, and to be on the stage is such an honor. So we really thank you for listening to us tonight.
Mm-hmm. Now, just to give a little bit of our background, Shawnee is from the Valley. She's from Salem.
Literally a Valley girl.
And I was raised in Hawaii. I was born in Pennsylvania, and I was raised in Hawaii. My mom is a Hawaii-born, Hawaii native. You'd never seen her on Hawaii Five-0, but she probably could have been.
Yeah, I lived in Hawaii for 20 years, though. I got out of Dodge as soon as I could, and I went to warm weather, and Greg and I met in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And we've also been married for 17 years. There's actually some similarities in our stories, so don't think that was an accident by any means. And we moved to Bend 2 years ago. We're about to celebrate our 2-year Bend life anniversary.
Yeah. Which is awesome. Bend is so awesome because, you know, if you grow up with one season all your life, it's just different to be in a place where you can have 4 seasons in 2 days.
We did. We started to visit Bend in, I guess, 2014, 2015, and Greg got off the plane, and he just...
I said, this is home.
He really fell in love, and...
I really did. Actually, I really did. I went, this is home. I got off the airplane, like Hawaii boy, no jacket, nothing. I had on like a really tight Nike shirt, and I'm carrying stuff off the plane. It's like 28 degrees out.
Middle
and
of
snow flurries,
December.
And I'm like, this is so cool.
He really fell in love, and he asked me if I'd ever live in Oregon again, and I said, well, not the Valley, no offense. I've just been in sunshine for way too long. But yeah, we really prayed about it and decided that we really felt God was calling us to Central Oregon, and we're so thankful and happy to be here.
A little bit of our story, not unlike Jeremy, I was very, very lost. I can say one thing consistently through that time was that Shawnee never gave up on me, just like Jesus never gave up on us. And, you know, I came to the realization one day as I was bawling on my kitchen floor that I just couldn't do it anymore. We had gotten to a place of extreme brokenness.
Yeah, we struggled in our marriage for many years. We did not have any sort of spiritual guidance or anything in our marriage, and it really, really affected us. We tried to do things the world's way for a really long time, and it backfired big time. And around 2011, everything came to a head, and we were just in this really vicious cycle of anger, if that's okay to say, and control. And the more he was angry, the more I controlled, because I was controlling out of fear, which a lot of times we do. And everything culminated. We were just fighting. We were financial problems, inappropriate relationship problems. We just had everything that. I think that's why God has called us to marriage, because it's like, what have you been through? We've been through it.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's become our, in ministry, it's kind of become our heart to help people walk through the troubled times in their marriage and watch it be redeemed. And we've seen so many marriages become restored and redeemed over the past couple of years. And it's just been an amazing journey.
Yeah, Greg, as he said, was literally on our kitchen floor just crying out for some sort of guidance, and I was there with him, and we picked ourselves up off the floor, and I Googled churches. At that time, I didn't realize what was happening, but God was whispering to me the entire time, almost our entire marriage. And I had no idea that that's what it was, so we looked for somewhere to go to find out.
Yeah, God speaks to us in whispers or in whips. He spoke to her in whispers, and he spoke to me in whips.
It felt like I got whipped sometimes. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was not easy for a really long time. But we picked ourselves up. We also went through Celebrate Recovery, which is our church called it Life Hurts, God Heals. It's a really great program, and it just helped us to start the healing process. We also went through counseling. We are not professional counselors. We really make that a
We're
point.
not even amateur counselors.
We have no education whatsoever, except for one in Christ. That's what we have.
Yes, yes.
But we love to mentor and stuff. But there is a time where professional counseling is needed. If you have that nudge on your heart, we just highly recommend it. Westside has a great list of Christian professional counselors that we can send you, they can send you. And it's a great place to start, because just to have a mediator that is unbiased, how many of you know you talk to your family, you're not going to get an unbiased opinion at all. And that's okay. Your family loves you, and that's a natural thing. But we went to professional counseling, and we were just so on fire for the Lord. We'd met him for the first time, couldn't believe this forgiveness that was offered to us. It was mind-blowing to us because of the past that we had.
And it was amazing because, I realized that Jesus was always there, and he had his hand out, and all I had to do was take his hand. And he has led me on such a fantastic, the man you see here today, I had no plans on becoming a pastor. That was not my plan. But I had decided early on that I was going to give my entire life to Jesus and give my entire marriage to Jesus and all my relationships. And he did such a great work, not only in me, but in my family, with our marriage, with our relationship with our children. It's just been so amazing. And, the thing is, it made me realize that as we look at our spouses, especially for men, she's God's daughter. And if I'm treating her poorly, then, as a father myself, if somebody treated my daughter poorly, I'd be upset. And I just don't want to upset God, who loves me so very much, that he sent his son so that I can have life eternal.
Yeah, we were just so hungry for any kind of information on marriage that we could get. So we started just by opening up our home, study after study, book after book, and we didn't realize at the time that God was creating in us a ministry to be able to bless marriages and to teach some of the things that we've learned. And so that's what we'd like to do this evening, is just to share some practical wisdom and ways that we have found and believe with all of our hearts. We can't believe in this more, that make our marriage stronger and closer to God. And we're going to share 3 of those ways with you this evening.
What she said.
I do all the homework,
Yeah,
yes.
she does. She's my cheerleader, and I'm like do my homework.
Did you read the notes for tonight?
Yeah, I read the notes. I got it. Don't worry.
So the first point that we would like to go over with you is a really, really fun one. Marriage, a strong, Christ-centered marriage, is a race to the back of the line. It's way more fun than it sounds. Paul tells us in Ephesians 5:21, submit one to another out of reverence for Christ.
Now, submit is a really tough word. It really is, because you immediately think that you're just giving up everything, and that's not what it is. We're not called to be each other's doormat. We're really not. It's like falling in love is the easy part, because that's all chemical. It's the staying in love where the work comes in, and that's the race to the end of the line. You remember when you first started dating and you're talking on the phone, and it's time to hang up, and you go, no, you hang up first. 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 It's like that. It truly is. And
It really is. You
yeah.
probably have a corded phone like we did, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Submit can be a really big, scary word, but really all it means is placing the needs and desires of the other ahead of your own. And Greg and I walk through this life hand in hand, side by side, but with a heart of placing the other person's needs ahead of our own. So we're back of the line. And it's the most amazing place to be, in the back of the line. It doesn't sound like it, but you know that you're doing the most godly thing by putting their needs first. And then all of a sudden, Greg is in the back of the line. And I'm like, wait, no, I need to be in the back of the line. And it's just a really special place to be when you're both focused on serving each other.
Yeah, when you have a Christ-centered marriage, I think the fundamentally, the best thing that you can do is to always remember that there is so much joy in seeing someone you love achieve what they want, achieve their heart's desire. That's where your joy comes in. And eventually, they will get to the point where they will want to see you achieve your heart's desire.
Yeah, sometimes with the big things, it's seasonal. Right now, I've gone back to school, which is a really exciting place for me to be. Greg has...
I don't got nothing going on.
No. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to be like, yeah, you have nothing. No, I wasn't going to say that.
Drive Uber. No, I'm kidding.
But I was going to say, in this time in our lives, our daughter's a little bit older. We have two grown boys, and it's a sacrifice for him. It's a financial sacrifice. It's a time sacrifice, and that's a great example of him placing my needs above mine. And I think in serving one another, what I've found in our relationship is a lot of times when the person that you love usually shows how they want to be loved by loving you that way. And so Greg is very much acts of service. He does a ton of acts of service. And one day I picked up and I goes, oh, wait, that's how he wants to be loved. And so it's sort of observational as well on how to do
She
that.
made me a sandwich, and it was the best sandwich I ever ate. It was wonderful.
It was just one. Figured that was good enough. Just kidding. The second point tonight that we wanted to talk with you about is boundaries. Boundaries protect our marriages.
They do, and I think that's one thing that when we were starting out was kind of a gray area as a young, well, she was young when we got married. I was 38. She thought it was Mardi Gras, but...
TMI.
Yeah, no, there's quite a few years.
TMI.
I would have taken her to my senior prom, but she was 3. But it's so
Move
true.
along.
If we would have known to set solid boundaries in not only in our individual lives, but in our lives as a couple, we probably wouldn't have gone through a lot of what we went through. Yeah.
1 Peter 5:8 tells us, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. And it's a very real thing. And what we've learned is that boundaries, and the analogy that we use, and there's an amazing study by Andy Stanley called Guardrails, and it's not a marriage study, but we just soaked it up because this was like, we need this in our marriage. And if you think of a guardrail along the road, it's there to protect you from the cliff, from potential danger or catastrophe. And so we've placed guardrails in our lives, tangible, practical boundaries that protect us from the edge. And it's your choice how far away from the cliff you want to live.
And you know, the guardrail doesn't necessarily stop you from damaging your vehicle. I mean, you bump up against it, there's going to be damage, but it keeps you away from the cliff. Would you rather have the damage from bumping into the guardrail or from going off the cliff? Because society will bait you to the very end, and when you go over the edge, they'll slam you every time. So you can't look to society for that kind of thing. You have to put up distinct, very solid boundaries around your relationship.
And a couple of areas that we just know from our own personal lives, from mentoring other couples, from other pastors that we've talked to, 2 of the main areas in our lives that we need these guardrails or boundaries are sex and money. It's just 2 areas that we get tempted very, very easily, and the destruction is very, very catastrophic if we end up going to that area. So for Greg and myself, we have really firm boundaries in those areas. In our finances, pretty much our guardrail is that I have nothing to do with our finances. That works very well with us. Greg is just a great steward. He's a great steward. And we live by the 10-10-80 rule. If you've heard that before, we give 10%, we save 10%, and we live on 80%.
And we tithe. I just wanted you to know, Steve, we tithe.
And that boundary is there so that if a month we're not able to do that, we're not able to give what we want to give or save what we want to save, we've bumped up to that and we go, what's going on here? We need to look at this instead of ignoring it, catastrophe.
And that's a big one too. I think in interpersonal relationships, you won't find me getting into a car with any female. You won't find any female in my address book on my phone that I'm not related to by blood or that is not a deep family friend. Because it's not a good, first of all, you try to start to justify why you have that person's information. And that leads to sometimes a lot of false guilt, even if there's nothing going on. But if you keep yourself blameless in that way, then you don't have a problem.
And it's so freeing. It seems like boundaries would fence you in and close you in, but they're so freeing. Greg is so on top of his boundaries when it comes to the opposite sex. I have complete trust. There's no insecurity. There's just faith and love and understanding that he is who he says he is, because his actions prove that, and we have placed specific boundaries in our lives to do that.
She knows if she can't find me, I'm probably watching Velocity and my phone is on silent.
And we had a great discussion in Better Together about this on Sunday, because we talked about boundaries, and people came up with great areas of their lives. Time. Where do you need guardrails in your life with time? What can you put in your life that's a practical application that if you bump up against it, family maybe, adult kids we heard. So we just encourage you to talk about and have a great conversation about maybe an area that you could include some of these.
Right, and if you're single, now is a good time to start putting in some really solid personal boundaries. Because it will, I guarantee you, if you don't have to go through some of the heartache that some of your peers have gone through, I mean, you'll be way better off. And people will ask you, well, how come you didn't, how come you never went through this? Well, because I have boundaries in my life.
Yeah. It's such practical wisdom. We make our 16-year-old daughter watch this study every summer, for 2 summers now, since she was old enough to really. I was like, I'm sorry, before you go off to college, this is such wisdom that you need in your life now. I wish I had this in my life when I was your age, so it's a great one.
Yeah, the videos weren't invented when I was 16.
And lastly.
Yeah, lastly, have each other's back. It is so important. I mean, if you take nothing else away from tonight, have your spouse's back at all times.
Yeah, when we were just going through that phase, we were just hungry to learn, opening up our house to couples and just watching studies and learning and gleaning from each other. One of the best compliments I think we've gotten is one of the husbands said that we really have each other's back. And I really thought about that. It's something, thankfully, one good thing that came naturally to us, like one only, no. But it did. We just are loyal people by nature. And so I can talk about Greg all I want, but you kind of like that thing, you say something, I'm like, no. And we just have each other's back in that way. And then when Christ entered our marriage, we really learned that we want to speak life and life-building words to one another, whether we're in front of each other's face or behind their back. And this doesn't mean that you're not honest, that if you're having struggles and someone asks you how you are and you trust them, be honest and sincere, but instead of going, he did this and he did that and he did this or she did that, it's, you know what, we're really struggling right now and we're not agreeing on everything. And he has a part, and I also have a part, similar to what you guys were talking about. When we were struggling, I was like, 100%, dude. This is all on you. I have nothing to fix.
It was actually 96% my fault. She only had 4, but she owned that 4.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit more than 4.
Yeah, well, no, it sounds funny, but, you got to own your own piece of that pie. If you're going to come together with transparency and in love, then you have to. I had to, and I'm not the easiest guy. I tell you, having each other's back and loyalty, I'm like a pit bull that's missing an ear, and I will always have her back. But I also had to learn how to be completely honest with her. Because if I lie to her, then in essence, I'm telling her that she's not worthy of the truth. You just have to figure out, how do you sweeten your words? How do you make what comes out of your mouth as sweet as honey?
Yeah, that's a great plug for Better Together next week, which our topic is communication and how to fight with, because we do fight and we disagree.
We actually do.
But with fairness and with respect, something that we've learned. So just speaking life over each other, it's really easy. And I had a lot of pre-Christian friends, and it's just really easy to get into a group and you're all bagging on your husband. And, well, I can talk bad about him too. I know, but it's a personal choice that we've made not to do that. and really just to build each other up, whether
Yeah.
we're in front of each other or behind each other's back.
Yeah. Two things I wanted to leave with you before we close. And this is so important. Everybody you come in contact with, everybody you come eyeball to eyeball with in your life is loved by your Heavenly Father just as much as He loves you. Everybody you come in contact with, no matter what they believe, they may believe differently than you. They may have different opinions than you. You may disagree with them. They may have they may have a different social level, but they are loved by their Heavenly Father just as much as He loves you. And God created us not only in His image and likeness, but He created us with our eyes and our feet facing forward. That's how you move on in life. Because, when you're in a car, you can look in your rearview mirror, but you don't want to do this because you miss what's in front of you. So just remember, storms will pass. It might seem like it's the end of the world, but I guarantee you it's not. Because in this world you will have trouble. But Jesus tells us He's overcome the world, and we can too. Nothing is impossible of overcoming. Every trouble is just temporary.
So thank you so much for having us this evening. It's been so great. Thank you very much.
So good. So really awesome. So practical, Greg and Shawnee. Thanks, you guys. So if someone wants to get involved in Better Together, what's the best way for them? Do they just show up when it's on Sunday nights? Tell us a little bit about the class, just so people can kind of know where next step that they might want to take.
She's my ride, so she can tell you.
Sunday evenings, so during service, 5:30 to 6:30, and it's seasonal, so right now we're in our spring season, it's definitely drop in when you can. We hope that you can come to every single evening that we have for this season. We'll run through the end of May. Come when you can, and childcare is available because we're running it during service, which is a great help. So yeah.
That's great. And so it's not a building kind of session where if you miss the first one, it's like to come when you can. Yeah. And so this Sunday on communication, great opportunity for our married couples to get some. I'd love to just listen to you guys talk. Oh my gosh, you're hilarious, Greg. I
appreciate that.
And I didn't think there would be anybody say anything more inappropriate than I do, and you have done pretty well. So
yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's a compliment.
This is his best behavior.
It's a compliment. I know you've been on your good behavior, Greg.
I know. Right?
Greg, would you, as we transition to the next thing, would you pray over the marriages in our church?
I would be honored.
Yeah, thanks.
I would be honored. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us together, Lord. And as we come to you in humility, Lord, we pray that if there is any suffering or any hurt or anything in the marriages, not only in this church but in our community, Lord, we pray for miraculous healing, Lord. And we pray that especially for this church, let our marriages speak to the community outside of the bounds of this church, Lord. That our brothers and sisters in this community will look at our marriages and say, gosh, they finished the race. They were this, but now they're that, Lord. May you remind us, give us gentle reminders to keep Jesus at the center of our marriages, Jesus, Lord. Father God, we honor you, we worship you, but most of all, we love you. In Jesus' matchless and miraculous name, all God's people said.
Amen. Amen. Thanks, Greg and Shawnee. Can we thank them one more time, you guys? Thanks. So good. All right, so now we're going to finish by having a little fun moment with my wife and I. Suzanne, would you come on up? And Evan, I think you're I'm a little worried, to be honest, you guys. Somebody, I think it was probably Evan, suggested, hey, why don't we do something fun, like those old marriage game shows, and try to figure out how much you guys actually know about each other. Here, Susie, sit there. And I was dumb enough to say, yeah, that's a great idea, Evan. And so we did a little run through this morning.
Did not go well.
It didn't go well. 2 questions that he asked us that he won't ask us tonight. One of them is inappropriate, but I'm a little worried what he's going to ask us.
I don't know why you guys are so scared. I never, ever put you in embarrassing situations, especially you, Steve. And tonight will be no different. So we're going to go through several questions. The idea here is that you're going to answer, if you have a strong marriage, you're going to answer the same answer to these questions, okay?
That's the idea.
Yeah, you're going to prove that you're on the same page as each other because of your
And ultimately,
decades and
ultimately,
decades and
you
decades.
guys get to know Suzanne and I a little bit better, I think, and we do too. Get
Yeah.
to know each other a little bit better.
Okay, so we're going to cruise through this. I'm not going to give you a lot of time to answer. So just
big letters,
really
big
answer
letters.
the first thing that comes to your mind, and we'll cruise through these. Okay, so number one, you're both answering this. You're trying to get to the same answer without cheating. Here we go. Number one, what does Suzanne wish you, Steve, would give her for her next birthday? 5 seconds, Suzanne.
Come on, Susie, you know this one. You know this one.
All right, reveal in 3, 2, 1. A beach house. And Steve says a foot massage.
Wow. A beach house?
I thought go big.
What was it for? For our next anniversary or something? What was
Next
it?
birthday. She has
Birthday?
high,
You want a beach house for a birthday?
pretty high standards.
It's like 50 years in or something.
Man.
Dreaming.
I'm glad she's your wife.
Foot massage. I've never given Suzanne a foot massage. I'm not a foot guy, so I thought for sure you would have written that. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I
Maybe
believe,
next year.
I believe you might give me a beach house. I don't believe you'll ever give me a foot massage. It's been 25 years.
All right. Question number 2. And remember, you're trying to get to the same answer.
Okay. Oh.
All right.
Oh.
All right. When you first met Suzanne, what did you notice first about Steve? Reveal on 3. 1, 2, 3. Reveal. Suzanne says his heart for Jesus, and Steve says singing and playing keys.
It is the same
I
moment.
was singing a worship song at a basketball camp that we had when we went to a church service, and Suzanne saw me playing keys. So was that? Is
Yes.
That counts.
moment.
Does that
They get a
count? Give
point.
us to
Yeah, they
us.
get a
Give
point.
it to
Yes,
us.
That's beautiful.
It's the only one we're gonna get.
Oh, it's really sweet. Okay, number 3. Number 3. This will be a quick one. Who is a better kisser? Go. And reveal 3, 2, 1. Suzanne says Steve. Steve says Suzanne.
That gives a point for that one. That
I'm
is
giving
the
you a
right
point for
answer.
kindness.
That is the right answer for both of us.
You guys probably know what the truth is, but you know, you gotta be
She's
kind.
right.
Yeah. All right. Number 4. Number 4. What?
Funny story about the kissing.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
know we don't have time for this. So I was really slow at physical affection and showing Suzanne physical affection when we were dating, but I finally got the courage up. I mean, it took months, literally months, for me to get the courage up to give first kiss. And so we were on the BART on the way to San Francisco. Her parents lived in the Bay Area at the time, and I decided I'm going in. I'm going to go for it. So I leaned over, I gave her a kiss, and she didn't quite back away, but made it very clear that it was too soon. And so I said, well, the next time you want to get kissed, you're going to have to let me know.
Well, good for you. Suzanne Mickle, everybody. Come on. That's
Oh
impressive.
boy, did I let him know. Yeah.
Ho!
Hey-o. Number 4. Just gonna keep moving, you guys. What does Steve do? Sorry, I lost my place. What does Steve do that annoys Suzanne the most?
You're really fast to answer this. I have no idea.
Just one.
Just one.
Just the most. Steve, write down something. You have 5 seconds.
I don't know.
And reveal.
Watch TV.
Watching TV. Suzanne says candy wrappers on the floor.
I never knew that. I love my candy, and do I leave them on the? I leave everything on the floor.
As a grown adult man, how much candy are you eating, Steve?
It's not
To
that
make it the
much.
most annoying thing. Anyway. All right, number 5. What is Suzanne's favorite romantic comedy? Favorite romantic comedy.
I'm right, Susie, even if you put something different.
Okay.
And reveal. Suzanne says Legally Blonde. Steve says Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Still not the same.
still not
I
a
know
point.
you better than you know yourself.
That's it.
Wow, what a beautiful thing. Number 6.
Are we almost out of time?
No, we got minutes to go. Number 6, in one word, how does Steve feel about Suzanne's family? In one word. Okay, and reveal, go. Close and loved.
Yes.
They were hoping
I
for
meant
something
like
funnier
close,
than that.
like they all live on the same block.
Oh, like too close. Too close.
I didn't mean like close.
Claustrophobic, maybe, yeah.
I
okay.
have said a few comments in the past. I've got to clean up my act with
Yeah.
my in-laws.
Well, a lot of them attend here, so that's probably
Yeah,
smart.
they're like
yeah.
sitting right there. And I
They're not
feel
laughing.
so
They're
loved.
just, they're
by
just
them.
glaring. Number 7.
And they do live really close. That's true. Yeah. Not bad.
Number 7, who is better with money? Who is better with money?
She wants to explain the answer. It's just you or me, Susie. It's not rocket science here.
The spelling's not that hard. There we go. Okay, reveal. Suzanne says herself. Steve says himself. Okay, well. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting conversation on the way home.
Yeah. All right, this is a good one.
We have switched back and forth doing
How many do we have
finances.
right so far?
One.
One.
You guys are counting.
Okay, you just have to get all the rest of them correct, and you will have won the game. Number 8. If Suzanne were an animal, what animal would she be? Answer carefully, Steve.
I know.
You do? I don't know
Right what
I'm
you
gonna
think he'll say. Right
I
what
don't
you
know
think
what
he'll
I'm
say.
going to say. This is a lose-lose question.
Yeah, it is.
This is a lose-lose. Oh, Suzanne, I never did. I know it. I'm going to write it down just so we get a point.
3,
That
2,
is
1.
not right.
Dog.
No, that is not.
Probably needs some explanation real quick.
No, it wasn't her. It was my an ex-girlfriend I had. I'm almost sure I never compared you to a dog. I know I did her, and that was an inappropriate example, and I feel bad about it
The
to
way
this day.
I
but-
remember it, I asked you what you liked most about me, and you said, after a few minutes thinking, that I was nice.
Yeah, I remember
we were
that.
dating
That was a
still.
compliment.
When you're dating, nice doesn't really get you very excited. You're nice. I was thinking something more exciting. And then somehow the comparison came into like a faithful dog.
You keep coming back to this. I do
Yes.
not remember it that way.
Greg, Johnny, can we get some help up here?
We're going to be in your class Sunday night. Yeah,
Sunday
she
night.
needs to be there. But- Oh!
All right, we're going to keep this train moving. Number 9. What does Steve think he's awesome at, but Suzanne would disagree?
You can't do this
No,
to me.
you-
No,
no.
I said you're going to bait me with something, and I was like, I can't walk to.
I just create the questions, man. Wherever your mind goes is.
Can you read the question one more time?
What does Steve think he's awesome at, but Suzanne would disagree?
Don't do it.
Suzanne, 5 seconds. Let's go. Wow, here we go. Reveal. 3, 2, 1.
This is just based on one of the last questions. Money.
Suzanne says everything.
Now you're getting all sassy
says
up here.
money.
She's getting all sassy. Let's stop right now, because this is going to go downhill from here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we've got 4 minutes left.
That's awesome.
See how many we can get through 4 minutes. Here we go. Number 11.
Everything. That's
If-
so mean.
You are awesome at everything.
If confronted by a mugger in a foreign country, would Steve A, fight back, B, schmooze his way out of danger, or C, bank on the fact that he can run faster than Suzanne?
What are A and B
A is fight back, B is schmooze his way out of
Shoot,
danger.
This is getting real. This is real right here. Oh my gosh, what is Suzanne going to say? What does she think of me?
And reveal. Oh, Steve thinks he'd fight back.
You think I'd
Suzanne
schmooze?
Thinks he'd schmooze his way out.
Good at like,
Talking?
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
How many think he would schmooze? How
my
many think he
son
would
over
fight?
there. You
No.
guys are lame.
How many think he would run and run fast? There it is.
I would never run.
Your personal assistant, Cheryl, thinks you would run, Steve. I'm just going to throw it out there.
This is going awfully wrong.
And you could argue, Cheryl knows you well.
I would
So,
snooze my way
just-
out of it. Maybe I would. I don't know. You know, I'll be
Number
right.
12. Oh, this is sweet. What is the most attractive thing about Steve, according to Suzanne? Oh, that's really sweet.
I don't have any idea what she thinks anymore.
They've given up on trying to answer as each other would. Reveal, go ahead.
My beard.
Steve says beard,
Yes, for sure.
and she agrees, but she wrote, what does it say?
Oh, my
lashes,
long
lashes.
lashes. Yeah, we have
Lashes,
this. I
lashes.
have very long lashes.
Steve's pretty proud of that, I can
Well,
tell. The way
I-
he
just 'cause
like,
she
gently pulled
desires
them out,
them.
like, have you seen? I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but people say they're nice.
Okay, you're right. I would schmooze. I wouldn't fight back.
All right, number 13. What is the best change that Suzanne has helped Steve make in his personal life or choices since your marriage?
Come on, Suzanne.
started?
You know this one. You know
Best
this
personal
one.
change that Suzanne has brought. Reveal. Wardrobe, white t-shirts. I'll
Same
give it
thing.
to you.
It's the same
2
thing.
points. 2 points, everybody. All right. Number 14. Finish the sentence. Steve wishes Suzanne would pay attention to him like she does.
Oh, no.
Steve wishes Suzanne would pay attention to him like she pays attention to.
Oh, you got an answer really fast.
Well, you've had a lot of fast answers, too.
5 seconds.
That kind of hurt just a little bit.
We're just gonna go with it.
We're just going with Steve. Steve, reveal. Tell us
What's the question
correct
again?
answer. I don't remember. Steve wishes Suzanne would pay attention to him like she pays attention to our children.
I wrote her children first, and I remember they're ours.
I'll work on that.
All right, couple more here. This is good. Yeah,
I'm exhausted.
This is some breakthrough for Pastor Steve and Suzanne. It's great. Number 15. What is the most used app besides the browser on Steve's phone?
Oh, that's easy.
Most used app.
We gotta get this one right.
Go. Solitaire?
Used to
and-
be. Rever. It's a motorcycle app.
Okay.
Well, that's not exciting. Okay, number 16.
How many right?
2. Yeah, 2 out of 15 so
No,
far.
it's not. Who cares out of how many? I mean, it's just like,
Okay, finish the sentence. We end arguments by fill in the blank. How do you end arguments? And reveal in 3, 2, 1. Kissing. Suzanne says, and you're right, is what Steve says.
that's how I end every argument. You're right. Wisdom there, people. Just saying.
Number 17. How old was Steve, when he had his first kiss? How well do you know each other?
Such a good story.
I'm gonna say.
Okay, reveal. 16 is what Suzanne says. The answer is 2nd grade.
Was it what? Oh.
Muffy.
Muffy.
No, Muffy wanted to. No, Muffy didn't want to. So she was much faster than the girl who wanted to. And I was quite fast back in 2nd grade. And so she chased me during recess. Muffy did, and chased me, tripped my legs, got on top of me, held me down. So I forget the girl's name. Don't even remember her.
You just remember Muffy.
I haven't forgotten Muffy in years. I'm kidding. Oh, Muffy's great. So I have to be careful because I don't know if she still lives in the area. I grew up in Redmond. I got to be careful about my stories.
Yes, you
Anyways,
do. You're
So
You're in
the girl wouldn't give me a kiss that wanted to, but Muffy did.
So it was Muffy.
It was Muffy 2nd grade.
wow. It's quite a 2nd grade for
There's
you,
an 8th
Steve.
grade story with Muffy
Congratulations.
too, but I'll save that for another day.
Number 18. What is the best gift Suzanne has ever given Steve? Best gift.
Somebody said herself out there, the romantics.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I think that was Suzanne's dad, actually. Like, here.
We got one.
Motorcycle. There it is.
Can we
Three-
end on
3
a high
points.
note? No.
No,
Okay.
I got to do this. Just one last one.
So
And this is about Steve. It's not inappropriate, but you should know it. Number 20. Who is Steve's favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, no, maybe it's her.
Maybe it's her.
No.
All right. And reveal. Steve says Luke.
Oh.
And Suzanne
Solo.
says Hans Solo, which isn't even a character.
Han Solo.
Han
I've
Solo,
never
there we
been more
go.
disappointed.
That's really sad. So we ended on a low note, guys. But you got 3 out of 20 correct. Let's give them a hand.
That's torture. Let's never do this again.
Yes.
Are we done?
We're
Are
done.
we done?
Now,
We're done.
Evan, we have some questions for you.
Can I just share one thing? I've been wearing this outfit all day. I ran home and then came to church. And then my wife came to church just about an hour ago and showed up wearing the exact same outfit after she saw what I was wearing. I don't know whether to be honored or just horrified that we're twinning. So we're going to work on that. That's my
That's
takeaway
good.
from this marriage night. Yeah.
But there is a point when you, at a certain age, you actually do start wearing the same things. You coordinate a little bit. Suzanne and I are not there quite yet, but you're already there. You're an old soul.
Yeah.
Who's wrapping this up?
Oh,
Is it me or you?
I can wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Did you want to wrap it up, Suzanne?
No.
Please
but
do.
I wanted to, we just wanted to have a little fun with this, but because it's important that you laugh when you're married. That's one of the really key things, I think. Yeah. If you've stopped laughing, that's when we know we need a little bit of rest or a little something. But we haven't stopped laughing.
And be able to laugh at ourselves.
We need to be able to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah, that's really
but
important.
I just wanted to thank again Jeremy and Emma being willing to share your story. It was really powerful. I think a lot of us women can relate to not even realizing it, but we're looking for our husbands to answer all of our needs. Everything we need, we're looking for from our spouse. And then God, sometimes gently and sometimes not so gently, leads us to a place of realizing that He's the one that's there to meet our expectations. And it just frees us up, like Emma said, it frees us up like we've won the lottery when we realize that's not where we're looking for our to meet our expectations. And I think it frees our husbands up too. So thank you so much. And that song was amazing. Really appreciate that. And Greg and Shawnee, thanks not just for tonight, but for being there for married couples. And it's so clearly the passion of your heart to serve our marriages in our church. So thank you for
and lives
that.
are being changed because of it. So thanks. And this is the last first Wednesday for the rest of the summer. So we're taking off June, July, and August to be with family, to connect with barbecues, community barbecues that we're going to be having as a church. And so we want to encourage you to do that, take the space and be with one another in other ways. And so just so you know, June, July, and August we'll be taking that off. So. Evan, anything else? That's it. Yeah, thanks to you guys for being here. Hope it was great. Hope it was enjoyable for you, and we'll see you this weekend.